All right, good morning, everyone. This is the January 24th Jupyter Dev meeting. Today we have a good group, both in the room and dialing in. So I'll just start off. We are, for our audience, we are still using Etherpad until the end of the month. We'll probably start moving in and trying out Dropbox Paper in February, and we'll share the link with everyone, both in the YouTube video and in our notes. On the project management side, we have an awesome Jupyter Hub team tutorial coming up on Friday. The intent of the tutorial is to help the team kind of get on the same page with Jupyter Hub and how it works and how to install it. We have a draft agenda that we're working on in GitHub and the issues in the project management repo. You're all welcome to come take a look at it. I'll also send it out probably tomorrow if it's ready. If the Jupyter Hub team gives me a thumbs up to share it with the rest of the crew. Okay, that's a thumbs up. All right, great. Thanks, Min. Next, I created I created a skeleton of a release schedule in Google Sheets, and I provided the link there. Carol and I are looking at ways to automatically either add data to that or, is that a no? We're looking for a way to, okay. Micro expressions. No. So to backfill the historic information, and then hopefully in the future we can find ways to automatically add data to this list, and I don't know, maybe move it into something else that's not Google Sheets. But the intent is to, not make it a manual task to add every single release to the list, but it may be manual until we get some machinery up and running. So I think that's going to be a good thing, both for the team and then for our community as a whole. Let's see, what else? Let's see, and Matthias is just capturing some notes about the things that I've been talking about. So that's great. Thanks, Matthias. Also, today Ian's going to be capturing action items and moving any links over so that the notes that are taken during the meeting can be fleshed out afterwards a little bit more when they're shared on the mailing list. Cool. All right. So notebook. Who is Army Green? Grant, Thomas, or Jason? Kernel activity.
Min, you had added that PR. Did you want to talk about it? The kernel activity watching?
Sure. Yeah, it's adding activity tracking to the single user notebook server, which is something that Jupyter Hub uses and some other things would like to use so that they can ask when kernels were last doing something, so that they can do things like clean stuff up and sort them by recent activity, that kind of stuff.
Cool.
I guess I can talk about Notebook other than that, we're just closing issues and going through all the stuff we can to get to Notebook 5.0 release as soon as possible, which is not too far off.
Cool. Is that like days or weeks? What is not too far off mean in your world?
More than days.
Okay. All right. I don't need an exact date. I'm just trying to understand scale.
Sometime next month, probably.
Units. Okay, cool.
At least for a beta.
All right. That's general enough for me. Cool. Wonderful. Jupyter Lab.
All right. Last week we cut the 0.13 release, which included some of Darian's fixes and improvements to state restoration. So now when you close a page and when you refresh the page, it should not only be more resilient, but also take into account the sidebar state. So whichever sidebar you had open should be in that same state when the page reloads. In addition to that, we've been doing some refactoring. Notebooks and consoles all the way down to cells and output area are now more easily customizable for third-party use. And we've actually pulled output area and cells at the top level folders, and those will soon actually be separate NPM packages, so that these components are more easily composable and reusable by other folks. Darian is working on Tooltip. It was a much asked for feature, the ability to summon a hover tooltip where you're typing in the editor, and that will be a customizable shortcut. So Shift Tab to have feature parity with the existing notebook, but allow you to customize that for whatever way you want to summon that tooltip. And that actually logic will allow us to do the same with the completer widget to make it not just tied to tab, but we're going to bring that up to a higher level and allow you to customize the way that behaves as well at a higher level. So a lot of good things coming out of Darian's work there. And in general, just pushing hard on the beta release, bug fixes and refactoring to try to get the API to be more stable once we hit beta. And that's about it.
That sounds great. Thanks. I lost my spot. Okay. So wonderful. And version about the info about the about page. Let's see. IPyWidgets, Sylvan and Jason. Polishing.
Yeah, just continued polish towards widget 6. I guess the one highlight would be we temporarily reverted the drop-down control back to the browser native select box while we work on some interaction issues that were kind of blocking the rest of the notebook or the rest of the widgets. And other than that, and trying to use Phosphor better for disposing things and resize events, etc. So just continued polish as we're working through sort of advanced examples of the widgets and issues that seem to be coming up. Anything else?
No, I was in Edinburgh last week with Thomas too, was there. Yeah, since I've been in conferences and all for the past 5-7 days, I haven't been pushing too much on the widgets implementation. But just wanted to report on that there were some really cool demos by the Sage folks on new kernels for Singular and for Gap. So yeah, they're doing a lot of work on integrating Sage with Jupyter now.
What was the name of the conference in case folks want to Google it afterwards?
It was the Codima workshop in Edinburgh. CODIMA.
Okay. Cool. Thanks for spelling that out.
And Sylvan and I are giving a talk on Jupyter tonight at the Data Driven New York meetup, which like 250 people, lots of sort of startup people and stuff like that. So we're excited. Thanks everyone for slides and demos and whatever else that people have helped us with.
Nice. Right on. Okay, Matthias, did you have any comments here that you wanted to ask these guys? I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I missed things because I was typing.
Okay, so Matthias is making a couple notes in the notes. So maybe you guys want to circle back at some point so he can clarify it for the distribution.
I did a note in Jupyter Lab as well.
Okay, there's one in Jupyter Lab as well. All right. Let's see. Jupyter Hub, Min and Carol, blue and pink. Who wants to go first?
Like Sylvan, I've also been traveling for most of the last week, so I haven't made a huge amount of progress, but we have a new contributor working on adding some stuff to Jupyter Hub, particularly the multiple servers per user feature, adding that piece by piece. Carol's been making improvements in the test suite and things, talking to various people about services stuff. I think it's worth trying at least, as people are asking for the ability to do various things, that changing how external things authenticate with Jupyter Hub to just use OAuth instead of our cookie path thing that we do now I think will make it easier for there to be more varied patterns of giving different groups of users access to different things without the risk of the spoofing that we have to do these complicated cookie path things that are fine when you've just got the simple model of hub and individual isolated servers, but get very tricky once you have a wider variety of access patterns. So I've got part of an OAuth implementation using a Python OAuth library that I think will make that a little easier. And then I spent today sketching out kind of the basics of hub share so that we've got a place to do work for the sharing service that we can talk about on Friday, and realizing that the skeleton of REST API providing service with Tornado and authentication and reasonable cross-site protections and configuration and stuff is non-trivial. So getting started with a new repo is more work than it probably should be. But I don't know if it's worth going as far as doing a cookie cutter or a reference repo or something. But I'm copying and pasting a lot of things. But yeah, I should have something in place so that we can start writing the actual implementations soon.
Cool. Keep at it. Sounds great.
If there's anything Carol wants to add on that.
Nope, I think that pretty much covers it.
All right, thanks you two. NB time, it says nothing to report. NB convert, Mike.
So
Congrats on your release.
Thanks. Technically 2 releases, but we're not going to act like the first one happened. I
was doing.
Oh yeah, but so that's released now. Thanks to everyone who helped with that. And I built some automation around testing the distributed the SDists and BDists, which has massively speeded up how the release schedule for me. Then also worked on because people were complaining about if they use Conda, not being able to get NBConvert a more recent version than 4.2. Got the feedstock up and running on Conda Forge. So now if you just point people there, we should be fine. And I figured out most of the rough edges, so I should be able to keep a closer eye on that and make sure that our releases are more or less coordinated there. And then I think that's mostly it for what I wanted to talk about there.
Okay, great.
Thanks to all that helped out with the feedstock and whatnot, Min, Thomas, and J.A. Kirkham. Super helpful.
Yeah, and I'll just add that usually pushing a new release on Conda Forge is simpler than that one was. It was the addition of new dependencies that weren't already on Conda Forge that had some weirdnesses about them that made it about as complicated as a new release can be. And that should happen rarely, not never, but rarely. Usually it's just change the version number and the hash, and you're done.
Awesome.
Great. All right, so IPython is next. Matthias has asked not to speak today. He says he's pushing for IPython 5.2. Any timeline associated with that? No timeline. All right, pushing now. In the future. Great. Conferences. Cool. PyCon 2017 talk. Matthias, Mike, Thomas, Min.
So I'll talk about that. Basically, we found out yesterday that our talk about like a user-friendly transition from like Python 2, Python 3 compatible packages to Python 3 only packages, and sort of the infrastructure needed to be put in place in order to make that possible. You can see our proposal there, and we don't know if it'll be a 30 or 45-minute talk yet because I haven't figured out the schedule.
Great. Congrats.
Thank you.
Can't wait to hear it. All right, and let's see, we've got a bunch of yellow. Computational mathematics with Jupyter. There's a link. Who's yellow?
I'm just adding.
Yourself.
I'm yellow. This is Sylvan's conference that he went to, and I'm adding our data-driven NYC meetup.
Great. Cool beans. Thank you. And Pete, you're up. Services, kernel gateway, Docker stacks.
Sure. So kernel gateways had a few issues open against it for a while. I took a pass at plowing through some of the easiest ones this weekend, I think it was, and there's one left, just improving a tutorial that I think we can cut a 1.2 release. If anyone has some time to look at the PRs that are there, they're not that complicated. I'd appreciate it. Then we can do that. In Docker stacks, there's one interesting, actually two, and I'll add it to the notes. It was a while ago. I forgot to report it last time I was here. We moved the Spark Docker stack, the PySpark and the AllSpark Docker stacks to Spark 2.0.2. It's probably time to rev them again, the 2.1. But that was a long time coming. We were waiting on the Apache Tori Scala kernel to move to being compatible with Spark 2 before we could do that. And then there was a recent contribution for adding Spylon kernel, which is a new meta-based Scala kernel to these stacks. I kind of recused myself on merging that one because it's Marius, who works with me, who submitted it, and I didn't want to have a biased merge on the repo. But I think Min and Kyle took a look and said, sure, let's get it in. So there's another Scala kernel in the Docker stacks for people to kick the tires on and use with Spark. That's it for me.
Great. All right, so that is the end of our written notes. I know a couple people joined after we started. Do you guys have anything you'd like to add? Going once, going twice. Nope. All right, great. Well, thanks everybody for joining in today. It's great to see you all. We'll catch up with the Jupyter Lab folks on Friday, and we'll actually see most of you for the tutorial directly after. So thanks for joining in, and have a great day.